Hi, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I had a little bit of a glitch trying to find the website. Okay. Wow, we've come to week 9. Good morning, Trent. Hello, hello. I just want to once again extend my thanks to Trent, who is there every week to support me in the online lecture. I'm very, very grateful. Um, it's very, very hard to try and look at the chat and answer the chat. So, Trent, you are invaluable here. Um, just a little bit of administrative stuff. I know Alberto is going to come. Alberto was going to come along and talk about the exams, but he's going to do a video and upload it online. um, this is the last lecture for the term, so there will be no more lectures next week. This is your last one for the series. I just want to have a quick chat about exams. I know that I mentioned to you last week that your week 10 deadline to earn marks for your MCQ answers is on Tuesday, the 18th of November. Your week 10 deadline to earn marks for your short answer answers is on Wednesday, the 19th of November at midday. And your week 10 deadline to earn marks for marking short answer question answers is Friday, the 21st of November. Your exam is on the 4th of December between the hours of 7:45 a.m. and 12 p.m. That is midday. Don't try and do the exam at 7:45 p.m. because it will be closed. So this is a Sydney time zone. So please make sure that you put an alarm on. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about, exam prep. I know that Alberto is going to go through it in detail in a video, but I also want to give you guys a few reminders. The reason why I keep reminding you about your week 10 deadline to earn marks for multiple choice answers and short answer answers is because I really, really do want you to get to the final exam with a total of 45 marks in the bank. Your final exam is not going to be an easy task. It's going to be a tough assignment. It is not tough in terms of it's not possible to be done. It's tough in terms of there is a time constraint. Okay, so this is not going to be a piece of cake. This is going to be an exercise of race against time to finish 55 multiple choice questions. You have a time pressure of 2 to 3 minutes to answer each of those 55 questions. And believe me, I have tried and I have made really stupid mistakes only because I was, listening to that clock going tick, 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 and really starting to panic. So, couple of things I would encourage you to do. I'm going to show you the Play Economics site. If you look at the site and you look, okay, sorry, I keep forgetting that. So if you look at the bottom, you see here there are exam practice questions. You have tougher practice multiple choice questions. There's about 365 exam practice questions there. And there are about 100 tougher practice multiple choice questions. I really strongly recommend that you do them, but not do them on its own. I want you to try and extract 55 questions at a time. Set a timer of 2 hours and try and do that within the time constraints, because time is going to be the factor that you struggle against, not the questions. If you have all day, if you have a lot of time on your hands to do each question, I'm very sure you'll get 100%. Okay, but that is not the case. If you look at every single chapter, I'm randomly clicking on chapter 3. You have more review questions, you have the solutions to all these questions, you have additional questions. It really depends on what kind of mark you are aiming for. If you already have 45 marks in your pocket, on your hand, then you just need to get a few of them right, and it'll tip you to a pass. But if you want a credit, you might need to do more prep. If you want a distinction, you will need to do more prep again. And if you want a high distinction, I would strongly encourage you to make sure that you do all your review questions, all your additional questions, all your exam practice questions, and all your tougher practice multiple choice questions within a set time constraint. So you know how it feels. I gave it a go, and believe me, it was something that my heart was pounding, and I started making mistakes because I knew that I was running out of time. And I know my content, but I haven't had that practice doing it fast. So it's a learn to response. It's a practice that you have to do. It's not just your understanding of the content. Of course, your understanding of the content is important, but that feeling that you have 2 hours to do, basically you have approximately 2 to 3 minutes. I will err on, to be more conservative. I set myself 2 minutes for every question, and I try to aim to finish that in 2 minutes so that I have a little bit of extra time at the end. So that's just a little bit from me. Alberto will elaborate on that a little bit later in the video. So please check Moodle. Please look through all the instructions on Moodle. I've got one more thing to talk about before I go into the content. No, wrong one. This one? Wrong one? Sorry guys, just trying to find the... I was pretty sure it's this tab. Sorry, my apologies. I showed it the file earlier and then it just disappeared. It's so weird. Never mind. Can I just talk through it, because I can't seem for the life of me to be able to drag out that slide again. We know that the exam is worth 55 marks. I want you guys to look at the My Experience survey and go through the My Experience survey. Yes, it is doing a survey for us as the teaching team. We take the survey very seriously. We value your feedback. And I honestly hope that, my efforts in preparing for the class has resulted in a rewarding learning experience for you. And if there's any improvements that you would like me to make, I would love to listen to it. I promise I won't take any of it personally, but it will go into my personal development. Now, when the response for the My Experience survey reaches 50%, one additional bonus question will be released for you, and you will get an additional 3 extra minutes to the exam. After this, for every additional 15%, so if the response rate hits 65%, you will get an extra bonus questions, giving you a total of 2 bonus questions, and another extra 3 minutes, giving you 6 minutes. If our response reaches 80%, then you get a third bonus question and an extra 3 minutes, giving you an extra 9 minutes to your exam and an extra 3 bonus questions. These bonus questions will go directly into adding marks to your overall. So, for example, if you got 30 marks for your course mark before the exam, and you got 43 marks during your final exam, if you get your first bonus question correct, that will add from 73, it will give you 74 marks. If you get your second bonus question answered correctly, it will give you another mark, giving you 75. So from a credit, you will end up with a distinction. If the response rate is 45% and you don't get any bonus marks, then you will only get 73, which is a credit. So, this is really, really helpful. The bonus questions boost up your marks. It is our way of compensating you for the time that you put in to give us the feedback and to complete the My Experience survey. It is our way of saying thank you and rewarding you to do so. So if you could do that for me, that will be great. And, it will be something that benefits you. All right. Now, I am going straight into the content. I'm so sorry that the slide didn't work. I really do not know what went on there. Now, let's have a look at a quick recap on negative production externality. Sorry about that. We met Benji on Tuesday, and we say that Benji sells hot dogs. Benji's selling hot dogs and cooking his hot dogs right outside the lecture theater where Maya is trying to concentrate. And Maya really dislikes the pollution. That's that smell of hot dogs. It's making her hungry, it's distracting her from class, and Maya does not appreciate it. How many hot dogs should Benji produce? Benji needs to consider the marginal cost of not just Benji's marginal cost, but also take into account Maya's marginal cost. And so Benji's marginal benefit, which is your price, must equal to Maya's marginal cost plus Benji's marginal cost. Maya's marginal cost is classified as a negative externality. A negative externality represents a cost incurred by someone who is not involved in the production of a given good. For example, Maya isn't cooking sausages, she isn't producing any good, but she is affected by Benji's production of hot dogs. So we talked about the cost and the cost of the negative production externalities, where the surpluses were, and we also then says because there are only two parties here, Benji and Maya, they are able to do a private negotiation. As a result of the private negotiation, Maya might say to Benji, hey, I'm going to pay you $1 to produce less. So from 3 units of hot dog, so long Maya compensates Benji with anything between 0 to $1, Benji is likely to accept. And as a result of that, Maya will pay Benji to produce less, and Benji produce less and benefits from that. And as a result, that is a Pareto efficient transaction because both parties are better off. So we therefore get rid of the deadweight loss through private negotiation, and there is no government intervention required in this case. We also talked about the examples of harmful production activities such as global warming. We talked about pollution created by factories, for example, excessive risk taking by banks, leading to lending to subprime markets or subprime lenders, and these excessive risk taking was exhibited in the global financial crisis in 2008. We also mentioned the overfishing. We say that, yeah, there's no property right. People tend not to talk about fishing because we can't see what's under the ocean. And there really isn't a property right in the ocean. Like, whose property is that? Oh, that's my fish. Your fish is swimming into my area, so that's my fish. Like, we can't measure that, and therefore we overfish. Now, we move on and say, well, okay, private negotiations is great in a small market where there are two people involved, Maya and Benji. When you have externalities that are exhibited in a large market, it is a lot harder to negotiate because your transaction costs are really, really high. And as a result of that, we need government intervention because the coast conditions in these circumstances do not apply anymore. We know that the coast conditions do not apply because of high transaction costs and that governments must intervene. If we look at your marginal external benefits, imagining that we're talking about vaccines, the government would come in and subsidize those vaccines. It's usually based on research. So, for example, children under the age of 5 will get free childhood vaccines, but they also get free flu vaccinations up until the age of 5 because research has shown that they are more susceptible to the flu at that age. And the death rate for children who catch the flu below the age of 5 is significantly higher. We also know that, like I said to my live class earlier, a friend of mine actually got the shingles. She is only 40 something, relatively young, and she got the shingles and she suffered. But the shingles vaccine is really expensive. I think it was like $600 or something like that. But the government will subsidize and make that shingles vaccine free if you are over the age of 65 or 70. So the government intervened with the subsidy to encourage the increase in consumption and thereby shifting the social demand curve upwards. Now, on the other hand, if we look at a marginal external cost such as pollution in the factory, we want that pollution to decrease. And as a result of that, the government intervenes and slap on a tax for that amount. And the government, when they put on the tax, it will hurt the industries and make them pollute less. They're more aware of the external costs, the marginal external costs that they are creating, and the negative externalities that exist in that market. We also talked about negative consumption externalities. Some examples are smoking. Haven't you ever heard of people who get lung cancer and never smoke a cigarette in their life, but they're probably surrounded with friends who smoke, and that's a negative consumption externality of passive smoking. Alcohol abuse, if you drink and you drive, that is a negative consumption externalities. Or alcohol abuse might result in domestic violence, which is also a negative consumption externality. Driving creates pollution. It's better to walk or to ride a bike. And the pollution created through driving is also a negative consumption externality. When we look at examples of positive production externalities, we talk about things like on-the-job training. When we train our workers on the job, they become more efficient, they become better workers, and that is part of positive production externalities. New production technologies that make our process more efficient, beneficial production activities such as, if you are a beekeeper and your bees go around pollinating all the neighboring agricultural farms, that's also classed as an example of a beneficial production activity. All right, let's move on to public goods. Now, we talked very early on about the difference between an imperfect versus a perfect good. We talked about this market starting from week 7 when we introduced monopolies and subsequently oligopolies. Today, we're going to focus on goods that are not excludable and rival, and see what happens with those goods. Now, some examples of public goods. Going back, public goods are goods that are not excludable and rival. Now, example of education. If I get an education, if I go to university, it does not affect others from going to university or gaining an education. We can all do it together. Healthcare system. If I go to the emergency department to seek treatment, it does not stop somebody else from going to the emergency department and getting treated for an accident that they have that has happened to them. A defense force. If we have our defense force protecting us, that protection is not only limited to me, it's available for all. So we then talk about all of these examples being non-rivalry and non-excludability. A non-rivalry is where one individual's consumption does not impede another individual from consuming it as well. So an example of a non-rivalry product would be fireworks. Now imagine we went to, I often go down to Pyrmont, it's in Sydney, and the fireworks are going off. I look up into the sky and the fireworks are in the air. I was amazed at how beautiful those fireworks are. That doesn't stop the hundreds of people around me enjoying the fireworks. So when I admire them, you can too. And it does not cost more if more people are watching. So when I watch the fireworks, it doesn't prevent you from watching it. Now, I'm going to talk about fireworks as a pure public good in a minute. Let's look at the next slide. Non-excludability. No one can be excluded from consuming the good. I can't stop you from watching the fireworks. I might be able to close your eyes, but I can't stop you from consuming. Oh God, golly! I've been talking about. Thank you, Venetia. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, I've been talking to myself this whole time. Thank you, Venetia. Thank you, Venetia. It was me. It was my problem. It's not yours. I didn't actually write very much. I only wrote fireworks for non-rivalry, but that still doesn't help you. Thank you, Venetia, for speaking up. I really, really appreciate that. See, feedback. It's really, really good. It improves your experience. It tells me what I'm doing wrong. I'm thinking about a million things. So apologies for that, Venetia. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. No, we've talked about non-excludability. No one can be excluded from consuming that good. I could cover your eyes and go, oh, you can't see the fireworks, but no, that's really silly, isn't it? Or jump around in front of you and go, nah, you're not going to see the fireworks. But it's up there. I can't exclude you from being there. It's free for all. And, you know, if one person is standing there looking at the fireworks, or 100 people there is watching the fireworks, or 1,000 people watching the fireworks, it doesn't cost more. So, you know, your marginal cost is actually zero. So let's have a look at the difference between pure public goods and impure public goods. Pure public goods represent goods that are perfectly non-rivalrous and non-excludable. Perfectly, completely non-rivalrous and non-excludable. So examples that I was talking about before, I mentioned fireworks. Another example that you could use is the lighthouse. Another example that you could use is clean air. And, you know, there are a lot. Defense is another one. These are all classified as pure public goods. Now, in real life, unfortunately, in real life, most examples are just impure. Most examples are not completely pure. Impure public goods represents goods that are non-rivalrous and non-excludable only up to a point. This is the key that we are focusing on. Only up to the point. Yeah, a little bit excludable, a little bit rivalrous, and that's the real world scenario. So let's have a look at what are some examples of impure public goods. Now, pay TV is a very good example. It is excludable, but non-rivalrous. What's an example? Let's say we watch Netflix. You want to watch Netflix, you need to pay for a Netflix subscription. Netflix can exclude you from watching if you don't pay the subscription. I was telling my live class earlier that my kids was asking to watch something that was only available on Disney. And I said to them, bad luck, Disney increased their price significantly at the end of last year, I think, and I canceled the subscription for Disney Plus, Disney Channel, whatever it might be. And I canceled the subscription. And I said to them, well, there's no need for that. We already have Netflix. Bad luck. You can't watch that show that you wanted on Disney because I didn't subscribe to it. So unless I pay for it, you can't watch it. And so I told them to, you know, if they really want to watch that particular show on Disney, they can use their own money, which they have plenty of, to pay for that subscription. But if I do subscribe Disney, then I can watch the show and you can watch the show all at the same time. And therefore, it is non-rivalrous because we can all watch the show together. Here, as a result, because you can watch the same show and I can watch the same show all at the same time, whether it's one person watching the show or a million people watching the show, so long you pay for it, that you then have access to it, but for every additional person, there's no extra cost. So your marginal cost there equals 0. Now, let's have a look at an example that is non-excludable, but rivalrous. Give you an example of a congested motorway with no toll. So there's this road. You don't have to pay money to drive this road, but it takes longer. Okay, so technically non-excludable, but it could be rivalrous. Rivalrous, why? Because the more people using that road, that doesn't cost you any money to use. The more cars there are on the road, the slower you are, the more traffic jam there would be, the longer your travel time. And so each additional car will slow the others down. This can be this can be excludable though, if the government decides to put a toll on it or time restrictions where certain people can use that road or lane limits. So it can be excludable. Some roads in Sydney, it says that from a certain particular point in time, you need to have 2 people or 3 people in the car for you to use a particular lane. Then that will be classified as excludable. Now, this is the same for hospitals, schools, public transport, this micro one course. So up until we reach congestion, up until we reach full capacity, it is a public good. And if it's a pure public good, your marginal cost equals to 0. If it's an impure public good, your marginal cost is greater than 0. Let's try and explain this marginal cost concept. Imagine before full capacity is reached, every new car that goes onto the road doesn't slow the others down because, there's a lot of space. There wasn't a lot of cars. There's no congestion. There's no delay. So cars going in, not really having much of an impact to others. Therefore, the cost of allowing one more car to use that road is 0. Therefore, your marginal cost is 0. We then talk about congested roads. Sorry. Uncongested roads. Okay? Uncongested. So when we talk about uncongested roads, 1, it's non-rivalry because one more car doesn't affect the others. 2, non-excludability because anybody can use the road. Okay? So these are pure public goods. Now, we're going to talk about congestion. Now, after we reach full capacity, the roads is full. There's a traffic jam already. Every new car that goes onto the road will slow the others down. And therefore, your marginal cost is greater than 0. This good now becomes rivalrous, rivalrous, it becomes rivalrous, and it shifts from being a public good to a common pool resource. What is a common pool resource? A common pool resource has two features. One, that it's rivalrous, and two, that is non-excludable. Sorry for the ugly handwriting once again. But that becomes a common pool resource. Okay. Now we're going to talk about aggregate demand and your marginal social benefit. And we're going to touch on efficiency. And we're going to talk about, Samuelson condition. So let's start by introducing you to Anna and Zoe. These two are flatmates, and they like to have a clean house. They want to hire a cleaner. They're trying to decide how many hours of cleaning per week should they contract for. Now, I'm going to use OneNote to draw out an example for you. Okay, let's imagine this is 10, this is 25, and this is demand for Zoe. Okay. Then we're going to draw Anna's demand. Let's say this is 50, and this is demand for Anna. Now, imagine this. Imagine we are consuming at the third unit. Okay, how come I can't see that slide very well? Okay, I might try and draw it a little bit further up. Apologies, I should have looked up earlier. $25, this is 10, this is quantity, this is price. This is 50, and this is demand for Anna. And I want you to think about the third unit. So if I produce at the third unit, let's say that this is 30 and this is 10. So what essentially I'm saying is that the aggregate demand is based on the $10, the marginal benefit for Zoe at third unit, and this is the marginal benefit for Anna at third unit. And so this portion plus this portion would be 30 plus 10, which gives you, let me try and find another color, which gives you 30 plus 10, which is about 40. Okay, and so let's say it's round about here. Then we can then look at what happens when it's like 8 units or 6 units or 5 units. And we are going to then plot a graph that probably looks something like that. And that would be the aggregate demand. Okay, let's try and understand this concept, because I'm going to take you back to the actual slides to give you some specific numbers. Okay, hang in there, unit 10. Okay, let's look at the nice and pretty slide that we have in front of us. Now, in terms of private, forgot what I was going to say. Oh no. Now, okay, this is a public good. Zoe and Anna lives in the same house. And so when there is cleaning happening, they're both enjoying the clean apartment at the same time. You can't actually say, well, I clean the apartment, you can't enjoy it. Well, you both are flatmates, you both live in the same house. Hypothetically, they both decide to hire the cleaner for 6 hours. So according to this diagram, they decide to hire the cleaner for the 6th hour. So how does Anna and Zoe value the 6th hour of cleaning? TH. Not a total of 6 hours. We'll use the vertical interpretation. We'll go up. Now, so if we go up the curve and touch the demand curve for Zoe, let's say hypothetically this is 10 for the 3rd hour cleaning. When we go from 2 hours to 3 hours of cleaning, the boost in happiness is $10 for Zoe. Let's say the boost of happiness for Anna is $30. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, let's say the boost for Anna is $30. Now, this is happening at the same time. A clean apartment is therefore non-excludable. Anna and Zoe cannot be prevented from enjoying a clean apartment. It is also non-rivalrous, which means just because Anna enjoys the clean apartment, Zoe can enjoy the clean apartment too. Therefore, it is a public good. Okay, now, apologies. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. Now, therefore, when we hire the cleaner for the 3rd hour, we are creating at the same time a boost of $10 and a boost of $30. That is the magic of a public good. I was just a little bit lazy to go back to my OneNote slides when I talked about the $10 and $30, which I should have. Apologies for that. So what I should have done is going, Okay, in this particular case, my marginal benefit is $10 for Zoe and $30 for Anna. And as a result of that, the total is a $40 boost in happiness as a group. So as a group here, the boost is $40. So your aggregate demand is not summed up horizontally. We've got to sum it up vertically. So we can do this for the 5th unit, the 6th unit, and come up with all the different aggregate demand points. And that creates our aggregate demand curve. Now, let's go back to the slide. Sorry about that before. Okay, let me erase this because I don't want to talk about the 10th unit. Not here. Okay, now the question that we're going to ask is, what is the efficient quantity for society? Okay. Samuelson came up with a formal calculation for this. The sum of the individual marginal benefits equals your marginal cost. So Samuelson says, what's the equation again? Sum equals 1 and marginal benefit equals marginal cost. This is the equation that Samuelson derived. Now, let's talk a little bit about Samuelson because I'm talking about Samuelson's condition. Paul Samuelson, who came up with the Samuelson condition concept, is a pioneering American economist, and he is a first U.S. Nobel Prize winner in economic sciences in the 1970s. What Samuelson condition states that it defines the efficient level of provision for a pure public good, a good that is non-rivalrous and non-excludable. Now, this contrasts with private goods, where efficiency requires each individual's marginal benefit to equal marginal cost. Now, public goods like defense or clean air are consumed simultaneously by all individuals. And so the social benefit of one more unit is the sum of what everyone is willing to pay. So efficiency requires that the total benefit matches the cost of producing that unit. Now, I'm going to use another example. Sorry, I jump around between OneNote and this a fair bit. I want to give you an example. Okay, let's say we're building a playground. A-Y-G-R-O-U-N-D. Let's say if cost to build equals $60. Okay, but we have 3 children. We have Carter, who values it at $30. Charlie values it at $20, and James values it at $10. So when we say the sum of your marginal benefit, I'm not completing the entire equation because I ran out of space, equals to 30 plus 20 plus 10, which is 60. your marginal benefit, sorry, I'm going to write it above because otherwise you can't see. Your marginal benefit is therefore equals your marginal cost, because your marginal benefit, sum of your marginal benefit is 60. Your marginal cost is 60. So this is efficient to build. Okay, efficient. The Samuelson's condition talks about efficiency, the efficient level of provision of a public good. Now, let's imagine that this is still true, okay? And that the sum of the marginal benefit is still $60. But let's say now we say that this is 70. So then here, your marginal cost is 70, and now it is not equal. Your marginal benefit is less than your marginal cost. So now in this particular scenario, it is inefficient to build. Okay, so I thought that this example is easier to understand than using the example solely on Anna and Zoe. All right, let's go back to our slides. Okay. Now, so we talk about how Samuelson came up with this formal calculation. If you set it equal to MC, which is your price, then you will get the optimal quantity. So in this example with Zoe and Anna, the price that is $30 equals your marginal cost, and the optimal quantity TIMAL, optimal quantity is 6. So what that means is that any quantity that is less than 6 hours of cleaning per week, we will decrease total surplus and create a deadweight loss. For society as a whole, 6 is the optimal quantity. Let me show you this. At optimal quantity 6, area below the demand curve and above the price of 30, that's your surplus. If, let's say, hypothetically, we do not produce at 6, we produce at less than 6. Let's say we produce at 4. At 4 units, the area below the demand curve, sorry, trying to find a color, area below the demand curve and above the price will be that. So you see that our surplus has shrunk because now we have a dead weight loss. And so the optimal quantity is 6. Now, we've talked about all of this. We've talked about Samuelson's condition. Just very quickly, Samuelson's condition states that the efficient quantity of a public good is found by setting the sum of the individual marginal benefits equals to the marginal cost. So realistically, our equation of the sum and I equals 1, marginal benefit I equals marginal cost. This is what that meant. Okay, so the next question that we have is, market provision. Do markets provide goods efficiently? The answer is yes, if it's a private good. The invisible hand for private goods will sort itself out, but no for public goods. Let's look at why. Let's go back to one of our diagrams. I'm going to use the diagram that I showed the shading in. Now, at the price of $30, we're using the horizontal interpretation. Actually, I might use a new diagram. Okay. At the price of $30, we use the horizontal interpretation. We hit Anna's demand curve here. And that's 4 units of cleaning. Okay, so at the price of $30, the optimal quantity for Anna is 4 units. But at $30, see, Zoe's curve is at 25. The price at $30 is never going to cut Zoe's demand curve. So it does not intersect Zoe's individual demand curve. And this means that at $30, Zoe is not willing to pay for any cleaning hours at this price. It is $30 is too exy for Zoe. Too expensive. So what happens? Anna will hire the cleaner. Anna will hire the cleaner for 4 hours. Zoe will hire the cleaner for 0 hours. We know that this is not the quantity that maximizes total surplus. Our total surplus was supposed to be here at unit 6. But we are only going to go to unit 4 because Zoe is not going to contribute and only Anna is going to pay for 4 hours of cleaning. And therefore, our total surplus is going to shrink and we're going to have a deadweight loss. But the main point that we're trying to make is Zoe here is free riding. She's not paying for it. But is she enjoying the benefit of a clean apartment? Yes. Doesn't this sound familiar? It's the same as when you do a group assignment and, there are 4 of you. 3 of you are busily doing the assignment and working really hard and late hours. And there's one person that does nothing. Minimal. And that one person is still going to get the same marks as everybody else. That is a free rider. Okay? So Zoe here is free riding because she's not paying anything, but she's still enjoying the free apartment, the clean apartment. This is caused by a non-excludable nature of public goods, and it results in their under-provision. 4 units is less than 6 units. Therefore, under-provision. Okay. Let's go back and see if I've missed anything. No. So left to their own devices, will Anna and Zoe hire the cleaner for the efficient number of hours? The answer is no, because Zoe will be free riding. Okay. So we say here, just free ride on Anna and therefore we have N under provision. So free riding, the definition of free riding is the action of enjoying a good without paying for it, and it is the cause of it is by the non-excludable nature of the public goods, and the main problem it exhibits is under provision. So the question then we are going to ask ourselves is that could we solve this problem? Is this problem solvable? A possible, I use the word possible solution to the free riding problem is to use Lindell prices. I know you already see it. It says on the slide, it says it won't work. Let's talk about it first. What are Lindell prices? Lindell prices implies that each individual pays for the provision of the good according to their marginal benefit. Okay? So we go back. We say, let's say Zoe's marginal benefit is $10 per hour, and Anna's marginal benefit is $20 per hour. So the price is $30 per hour, and hopefully we can then get the cleaner at $30 per hour, and the cost will be shared by Anna and Zoe. Let's have a look here. I just said that Zoe is happy, let's say hypothetically, that Zoe's Lindell price is $10. Okay? So at the 6th unit, what happened there? At the 6th unit, that's the price. Okay? Now, remember when Zoe was free riding, okay? Remember when Zoe was free riding? She wasn't paying anything. Am I right? So when she wasn't paying anything, she was paying 0. So her price was 0. But at price 0, she was also not willing to contribute and get the optimal amount of 6 units. So she was happy at 4 units. And so the area below the demand curve up until 4 units was Zoe's surplus. This was before the application of Lindell price. Now, in order to produce at 6 units, 6 hours of 6 cleaning hours, at Zoe's marginal benefit of $10, we are going to get area below there. So, in summary, when Zoe is free riding, the surplus equals C plus E. The area in yellow. But when Zoe is paying $10, which is the Lindell price, to get the optimum 6 hours of cleaning, surplus equals C plus D. Can we see that here E and D are different, and that E is greater than D? And so Zoe's surplus is greater when she's free riding. So what is the problem here? The problem here is Zoe likes cleaning less than Anna. Therefore, Zoe is willing to pay less for it. Therefore, insisting that they both pay the same share of the cleaning cost, maybe Zoe can pay a price to commensurate to their marginal benefit, which is $10. It seems to make sense. But there is still that problem because the surplus that Zoe is getting is still less when she is free riding than when she is paying $10. So the likelihood is that she is going to continue free riding. Okay? So option 1, Zoe pays nothing, gets C plus E. Option 2, Zoe paid $10 and gets C plus D. Why would I pay $10 to get less surplus? And that is the problem. Now, we're going to talk about public goods and externalities. And the key that we're going to take away in this next slide is that a public good is an extreme case of positive externalities. Like all positive externalities, remember your perfume that is non-excludable. Everyone can enjoy Myers perfume. It is underprovided by the market unless there was some form of negotiation. In extreme cases, because unlike standard externalities, the benefit accrued to those who enjoy the public good does not depending on who is providing it. It could either be Zoe, it could be Anna. That's another way of defining non-rivalry. Now, this is where the problem for public goods become very clear. Even if you charge people their marginal benefit and adjust the price for the public good to account for the fact that certain people like it more than others, you may still find yourself in a position where free riding is optimal for Zoe. Therefore, the optimal quantity that's obtained by the group is 4 units, and it's less than the socially optimum quantity of 6 units. I just said a public good is an extreme case of positive externality. Cleaning creates a positive externality for both Anna and Zoe, and it doesn't matter if it's Anna who pays for it or if it's Zoe who pays for it. Sorry, I'm looking around because I thought Alberto was going to pop by. Now, in the previous example, it was Maya who put on the perfume. It doesn't matter who purchased the cleaning hours. Perfume is non-excludable. Everybody can enjoy Maya's perfume, and it's underprovided by the market. Now, what is important to keep in mind is that the government can do something about it. Okay? Government intervention here is important when we're talking about externalities and public goods. Now, the government can do something about public goods when there is under-provision. The way we describe it, the government can tax people. So the key to it, again, is tax. Okay, apologies, I covered the word tax. Tax. Oh, hey, look who's here.
I'm really sorry for
No.
crashing. I heard you saying I'm looking around for Alberto.
Yeah, I was.
Here I am. Just wanted to say, everyone, thank you so much for all the efforts in the course, your participation, the way you marked other students. Super appreciated. Esther did an amazing job. In fact, Esther, you gave a lot of tips for the final exam. That's what I also wanted to give. But in any case, as Esther said, I'm going to make a separate YouTube video just to make it even more clear to people that we want you to be as prepared as possible for the final, and we're going to give you as many tips as we can. But otherwise, just wanted to thank Esther, thank all of you. As I said, if you have any comment in my experience, I'm reading them personally, all of them, and we make a lot of adjustments in the course. So tell us what you think, and we are going to make adjustments for future generations and make the course better. Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say. I missed you guys, and I wanted to say hi. But there's going to be another video coming, okay? But it's going to be short, just about the admin of the final exam. Esther, thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you,
I'm
Alberto.
going to slide away.
Thanks for popping in. I knew he was going to come. It was the right timing. Alberto is great, and he's just
Esther is better, though.
No, thank you, Alberto. He has been really great, and he's been very supportive. We all love this course, and just before I jump back in and finish the last little bit, we do care about your performance. We want you to achieve a very, very good result, which is why we talk about some of the tips and what you can do. We don't want anybody to miss out on a great mark, and that is why I made a point to say that, it is not about the difficulty of the question. It really is the timing that is going to stymie you. So please practice on timing. I remember students coming up to me. This was many years ago when it was a paper exam, and in a different subject, mind you. But students then say, well, I managed to finish. I knew the answers to all these questions, but I couldn't do this exam. Your final exam is too hard. And I'm like, the final exam is exactly the same as your sample paper. The only difference is that you don't have the time pressure. The student took 2 days to finish the sample paper, whereas they only had 2 hours in an actual exam. So that's really the key that I wanted you to take away. But yeah, like I said, I couldn't express enough that we really care about your experience in this course. And I do a lot of prep for this course, and I'm hoping that you guys are benefiting from it. Okay, let me finish this last bit. Where did I go to? Where did I stop? I stopped at government intervention because that's where I circled. So, okay. Important thing to keep in mind is that the government can do something about public goods whenever that is under provision. The government can tax people. We talk about tax. I circled the word tax, and provide the public good. It's funny when I talk about government intervention and then I go back and talk about Anna and Zoe. But imagine it as a different problem rather than the decision to how many hours of cleaning. Ideally, if the government can tax Anna and Zoe, ideally they would charge or tax Anna and Zoe exactly their Lindell prices, because that is their marginal benefit. Therefore, it would make sense to charge them proportional to how much they enjoy the public good. However, what is the problem with this solution? The problem with this solution that it is not perfect and not easy to implement. Why? Because the marginal benefit for Anna and Zoe is not common knowledge. The government doesn't know. And so the government would need Anna and Zoe to tell them their true valuations. But of course, there is an incentive for them not to do so. Therefore, they will underrepresent their marginal benefit. And they will free ride even more. Like if the government comes up to me and goes, what's your marginal benefit? I'll be like, no marginal benefit. Doesn't benefit me at all. And so, I mean, I don't care. And so I'm not going to be telling the truth as to what the value of this benefit is to me, because I know that the government will then tax me on the information I provide. So I underrepresent the information I'm giving the government, and therefore the free riding problem is, even further exacerbated. So I have already mentioned that it is not common knowledge. Understate their true valuations, hoping to free ride on the other's provision. Now, let's look at something even bigger. Let's think about the judicial system in Australia or defense. Well, clearly, these are much bigger issues than what Anna and Zoe are facing. So, as individual demands are private information, government tries to put a tax using the two fairness principle. The two fairness principle, like it says, there are two parts to it. Number one is tax according to ability to pay. What is your ability to pay? Your ability to pay is based on, let's try and tax the rich versus the poor. So we are trying to tax people who have the ability to pay. So the rich people like public goods more. They have a higher willingness to pay for public goods, so we tax them. My sister's always complaining about how much tax she's paying. But the more money you earn, the more tax you pay. The second principle is based on the pay-as-you-go principle. An example of the pay-as-you-go principle is, let's say, we're going to use the Sydney Harbour Tunnel or the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Every time you use the Harbour Bridge, I prefer the Harbour Bridge than the Harbour Tunnel. Every time you use the Harbour Bridge, you pay a toll. And this makes sense because the payment here is placed on the good that is used. So therefore, the government needs to balance these two fairness principles as a way to decide how much to tax and who to tax for a public good, but without government intervention, without the government putting on a tax in order to try and provide the public good. What happens is that we would end up with much less education. Education in Australia for Australians, at least at the university setting or even a public school setting, is heavily subsidized. Healthcare, the provision of healthcare to Australians is subsidized. If we get really, really sick and we need to stay in the ICU for a week, my understanding is about $20,000 per day if you don't have, if you're not Australian and you don't have private health insurance. If you, defense, for example, we the government can't tax us to defend us, but the amount of money that we pay from our salary as tax goes into a pool of funds that helps defend the country from, I don't know, people who are potentially ever going to attack us, something like that. So it goes into these public goods that we would never have thought of to contribute money towards because we can't foresee that we need to use that product. These are all things that are valuable to society. This is my last slide for this term. Today is the last lecture for the term. Next week, there are no more lectures. We stop at week 9. you're going to still have your lab sessions. You're still going to be you're going to continue to complete your play economics and complete the units that and accumulate points. There are all those things that you still have to do, but next week there will be no lecture. So that's all I have for this term. I really, really hope that you have enjoyed it, because I certainly have. And I have done, my part. And I hope that my part is good enough for you. I've done a lot of prep work. I'm hoping that my delivery is clear, that I wasn't going too fast. And I'm hoping that you have all benefited and learned something from it. If you have any questions, we have a few more minutes left on the clock. I'm quite happy to answer any questions, and so is Trent. Thank you, Trent, for the support that you've given me all term. Alberto and I are very, very thankful for your assistance. I'm really, really hoping that you guys keep in touch. If you have any questions regarding, where to go from here, what are, some of the courses that you would like to understand more of, we are here to answer some of your questions. So don't be a stranger. We are here for you. It's not just, you're just a number and tick. So I hope you really had a good time. Anyhow, you can see that I'm waffling. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else that has a question. It's been a great ride. Thank you, Ian. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you from the entire Econ 11001 team. I can honestly say that Alberto and I are very honored to have you guys as students, and that you guys have been great all term. So thank you very much. Oh, Alberto is online, so he's spying on me. Okay, cool. I'll hang around for another few minutes. If you have any questions, please pop it in the chat, and we're happy to answer your questions. Bye, guys. Please do well. Each these. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Simultaneous 3523. Thank you, Venetia, as always. You've been great. Thank you, Iron. Who else is on the chat? Chinmay said hi. I didn't get to say hi back. Great work. Thank you, Trent. Oh, good. I think you guys are seemingly great. I'll see you around campus. Bye.